For most of humanity's long and arduous history, the pace of life was measured by hooves. For thousands of years, people moved on horseback or by crude carts dragged by donkeys, oxen, or camels. From the scorching dunes of Arabia to the icy plains of Mongolia, from ancient Babylon to imperial Rome, from the Great Wall of China to the muddy streets of medieval London, human ambition was bound to the humble beast of burden. Merchants followed winding trails across vast continents. The Silk Road, an artery of civilization, spanned thousands of miles. It carried silks, spices, and ideas, but also peril. Bandits lurked in mountain passes. Sandstorms buried caravans alive. There were no headlights in the desert, no horns on the tundra, only the creaking of wooden wheels and the labored breath of exhausted animals. It was slow, it was dangerous, it was filthy. By the 1800s, European cities had become congested nightmares. Horse-drawn carriages clogged cobbled streets. The average horse produced between 15 and 35 pounds of manure a day. Multiply that by tens of thousands in cities like London or New York, and you had rivers of waste and an unbearable stench. The 1894 Times of London even predicted in 50 years every street in London will be buried under 9 feet of manure. The world was crying out for a new form of movement, a revolution on wheels. And in this grim, dung-laden backdrop, a group of visionaries dared to imagine a world without reins. The age of experimentation. It didn't begin with cars, but with fire and pressure. As early as 1672, a Chinese Jesuit missionary named Ferdinand Verbiest designed a steam-powered toy vehicle for the emperor. Then came the French military engineer Nikolaus Joseph Cugnot in 1769. He built a hulking, steam-powered tricycle to haul artillery. It worked for 15 minutes at a time before tipping over due to its poor balance. But it was a beginning. As steam gave way to science, a new principle emerged: internal combustion. By the early 1800s, engineers had begun experimenting with gas and air explosions to create motion. Etienne Lenoir built a gas-powered engine in 1860, clumsy, inefficient, but promising. Then came Jean-Joseph Etienne, who mounted a Lenoir-style engine on a 3-wheeled cart. It ran, sort of. But the true turning point came in Germany. Enter the titans Otto, Daimler, Maybach and Benz. In the town of Holzhausen, a determined man named Nikolaus August Otto laboured in near obscurity. He wasn't an academic, he was a travelling salesman. But in 1876, Otto built the first practical 4-stroke internal combustion engine, the Otto cycle engine. It was revolutionary: intake, compression, ignition, exhaust, all in perfect sequence. Otto didn't create the car, but he created its beating heart. Otto's assistant, a brilliant young engineer named Gottlieb Daimler, saw the potential to take the engine further. Alongside his gifted partner Wilhelm Maybach, they miniaturized the bulky machine, making it small and light enough to power a vehicle. By 1885, Daimler had mounted his motor on a wooden 2-wheeler, creating the world's first motorcycle. Meanwhile, in Mannheim, another genius named Carl Benz was following his own path. He had been working obsessively on a motorized carriage, a true automobile from the ground up. In 1886, Benz's 3-wheeled motor wagon chugged to life, powered by his own single-cylinder gasoline engine. It sputtered, it stalled, but it moved. It was his wife, Bertha Benz, who sealed its place in history. Without telling Karl, Bertha took the motor wagon on a 66-mile journey to her mother's home with her 2 sons, becoming the first person in history to take a road trip. Along the way, she fixed a clogged fuel line with a hat pin, cleaned the carburetor with her hairpin, and bought fuel, Ligroin, from a pharmacy. When she returned home, tired but triumphant, she had proven to the world that the car was not a toy, it was the future. News of the German marvels spread like wildfire. But the birth of the automobile wasn't the work of one genius, but it was a battle of many. In France, Armand Peugeot and Louis Renault built faster, sleeker models. In the UK, engineers had to fight the infamous Red Flag Act, which required cars to be preceded by a man on foot waving a red flag. And the wave could not be stopped. Frederick Sims founded the Daimler Motor Company, igniting Britain's industrial pursuit. In Italy, Giovanni Agnelli launched Fiat. In America, Charles and Frank Duryea built the first US gasoline car, while Ransom Olds pioneered the first mass-produced American vehicle. Also, a young mechanic from Detroit named Henry Ford was watching. The mass production revolution. Ford didn't invent the car, but he made it affordable. In 1908, he unveiled the Model T, a sturdy, simple, reliable machine for the common man. By introducing the moving assembly line in 1913, Ford slashed production time and brought the price down from $850 to under $300. In just a few years, the automobile went from a luxury of the rich to a symbol of democratic freedom. By the 1920s, America was paved with roads. Gas stations, motels, and drive-in diners sprouted like mushrooms. The economy roared, suburbs flourished, teenagers got freedom, farmers got tractors, salesmen hit the open road, and women finally could travel without chaperones. The car became more than transportation, it was independence. Diesel, design, and global spread. Meanwhile, a parallel revolution was brewing. In 1893, Rudolf Diesel, a German engineer, designed an engine based on a different principle: compression ignition. It was more efficient and burned heavier fuels. Though he died mysteriously in 1913, falling overboard a steamer en route to England, his legacy endured. Diesel engines became the backbone of trucks, ships, and later, cars. Europe embraced car culture, especially Germany, which would later birth icons like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Porsche. Britain built refined luxury vehicles like Rolls-Royce and Jaguar. In Italy, speed and beauty collided in Ferrari and Alfa Romeo. In India, the automobile arrived during the British Raj, serving both colonial officials and the rising elite. By the 1940s, India had its own production lines with Hindustan Motors. Japan, flattened by World War II, rose like a phoenix, building economical, reliable cars. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, all born from the ashes, would go on to conquer the world. In Russia, rugged Soviet vehicles like the Lada became staples across the Eastern Bloc. And across the global south, the car became a symbol of aspiration. Transformation of the world. The automobile changed everything. Roads once clogged with horses gave way to highways. People could live farther from cities and still work in them. The suburbs were born. Businesses boomed: motels, diners, repair shops, gas stations. The economy surged as rubber, oil, steel, and glass industries exploded. Commerce expanded as trucks replaced trains for short-haul deliveries. Markets once distant were now only hours away. In India, the British colonial elite imported the earliest automobiles in the late 1890s. By the early 1900s, cars like the Humber and Rolls-Royce rumbled through Bombay and Calcutta, status symbols for the powerful. But soon the middle class began tinkering, importing parts, even assembling their own. By the 1940s, India would begin its own manufacturing journey. In Japan, car culture began with imported American and European vehicles. But by the 1930s, companies like Toyota and Nissan were born, initially copying Western designs before creating their own. Post-World War II, Japan would become a titan of automotive innovation, producing vehicles known for efficiency, reliability, and affordability. In Russia, the Bolsheviks saw cars not as luxury, but as tools for state progress. Under Stalin, Gaz and Zeiss factories produced military trucks and limousines. Though consumer cars remained rare, the industry laid the groundwork for Soviet industrial might. And in Britain, the car industry became a symbol of pride and precision, from the roaring Bentleys of Le Mans to the elegance of Rolls-Royce. But as the 20th century unfolded, competition from abroad and political turmoil would challenge its dominance. Meanwhile, empires moved on wheels. The automobile gave generals new mobility. In World War I, supply lines shifted from rail to road. In World War II, tanks and trucks, many powered by diesel, gave armies the flexibility to advance rapidly, to retreat, to regroup. The car wasn't just a civilian miracle, it was a military revolution. And yet, for the ordinary person, its meaning was simpler. It was freedom. For the first time in history, an individual could decide that not just where to go, but when and how fast. Families took vacations, not just migrations. Teenagers discovered independence. Love stories unfolded in the privacy of car seats, drive-in theaters, Sunday road trips, the Great American Highway. The automobile was no longer just a machine. It was culture, it was identity. This was the engine of modernity, and its heartbeat reshaped the world. It redefined cities, stretching them into sprawling suburbs. It shifted wars. World War I saw the motorized ambulance and reconnaissance car. World War II saw the Jeep and the mechanized tank divisions. It changed love. Romance blossomed in parked cars and roadside diners. It changed death. Road accidents became a grim price for speed. It changed commerce. Trucking replaced trains in many regions, bringing goods to the remotest corners. And it changed the psyche. No longer were people bound by geography. You could go where you wanted, when you wanted. The car became an extension of the self, a sanctuary, a status symbol, a freedom machine. But even as the automobile triumphed, questions loomed. Could cities survive the traffic they created? Could the Earth survive the emissions they released? Could the world keep up with its hunger for oil? New minds were already seeking answers, not with bigger engines, but with no engine at all. Batteries, electric motors, hybrids, hydrogen. A new revolution was stirring, but that is the story for another episode. Don't miss it. The journey has only just